Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation where a small argument with a loved one spiraled into something much bigger than you ever expected? Maybe it started as a minor disagreement, but before you knew it, emotions ran wild and hurtful words were exchanged. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers timeless wisdom that can help us handle these moments with grace, calm, and control. Today, we're diving into 10 Stoic insights that can truly elevate your relationships, whether you're dealing with romantic partners, family members, or friends. These lessons aren't just abstract ideas from centuries ago. They're practical tools that can transform the way you connect with others. Imagine facing a conflict with a calm mind, or being able to listen deeply without feeling the need to defend yourself. This is the power of Stoicism in relationships, and it's something you can start using today. By the end of this video, you'll not only gain a deeper understanding of Stoic principles, but you'll also be able to apply them to strengthen your relationships right now. If this resonates with you and you're ready to elevate your relationships, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's begin this journey into Stoic wisdom together. Lesson 1. Control your reactions. Picture this. You're in the middle of a heated argument with your partner. Voices are raised, tempers are flaring, and before you know it, you say something you don't mean, something that hurts them deeply. Sound familiar? In moments like these, it feels like we've lost control of our emotions, and that's exactly where Stoicism steps in. One of the core teachings of Stoic philosophy is learning how to control your reactions, especially during emotional storms. The Stoics believed that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. Think of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When it comes to relationships, this is a game changer. Imagine how different that argument would have gone if, instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, you took a pause, just a brief moment to collect your thoughts and respond calmly. By choosing a reasoned response over an emotional outburst, you not only avoid causing further damage, but also maintain a sense of peace and control in the relationship. Now, here's where I want you to reflect. How often do you find yourself reacting impulsively in your relationships? What would happen if the next time a disagreement arises, you took a moment to breathe and respond thoughtfully instead? Not only will you strengthen your emotional control, but your partner will likely respond in a more positive way too. It's about breaking the cycle of emotional reactivity. As we move forward, we'll explore another Stoic insight that can reshape how you interact with your loved ones, focusing on what you can control. Stay tuned, because this next lesson will give you even more tools to build resilience in your relationships. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control. Imagine this scenario. You've planned a romantic dinner with your partner. You've set the mood perfectly, cooked their favorite meal, and are expecting a lovely evening. But when they arrive, they're distracted, not as present as you'd hoped. Frustration builds up. After all, you've put in so much effort. You start to wonder, why can't they just focus on me tonight? It's easy to get upset, but here's the key lesson Stoicism teaches us. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In relationships, this means understanding that you can't control your partner's mood, their thoughts, or even their reactions. You can only control how you approach the situation. Instead of feeling frustrated that they aren't behaving the way you'd like, shift your focus inward. How can you respond with patience, understanding, and love? When we stop trying to control the uncontrollable, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and disappointment. Think about this for a moment. How often do you try to control or change something about your partner? Whether it's their habits, their opinions, or even their responses during a conflict, it's tempting to believe we can fix things. But the truth is, the only thing we truly have control over is our own behavior. What would happen if you focused on showing up as the best version of yourself instead of trying to manage someone else's reactions? Not only would this relieve the pressure on your relationship, but it would also allow your partner to feel more accepted and understood. This concept of focusing on what you can control isn't just powerful in romantic relationships. It's transformative in friendships, family dynamics, and even professional settings. So the next time you feel yourself getting worked up over something your partner did or didn't do, remember the Stoic wisdom. You're only responsible for your own actions. Next up, we'll dive into another powerful Stoic insight, embracing change in relationships. This one might just shift your entire perspective on how to handle the inevitable ups and downs in love. Lesson 3. Accept impermanence. Think back to the first time you felt a relationship changing. Maybe it was a friendship that slowly drifted apart, or a romantic relationship that wasn't quite as exciting as it once was. It's a tough pill to swallow when the people we care about change, or when the dynamics we've grown comfortable with begin to shift. But here's the truth. Everything in life, including relationships, is impermanent. The Stoics understood this reality better than anyone, and they embraced it as a natural part of life. Take the example of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who wrote extensively about the fleeting nature of life. He believed that by accepting change and impermanence, we could free ourselves from the fear of loss. In relationships, this means accepting that people grow, circumstances shift, and no relationship remains the same forever. But rather than viewing this as something negative, Stoicism teaches us to see it as an opportunity for growth. When you embrace change, you stop clinging to what was and start appreciating what is. Now, think about your own relationships. How often do you resist change, hoping things will go back to how they were? Maybe you've felt anxiety when your partner grows distant, or frustration when your best friend gets busy with other commitments. What if, instead of fighting these changes, you accepted them as part of the natural flow of life? By doing this, you allow your relationships to evolve rather than becoming a source of stress or disappointment. In the end, impermanence is a fact of life. Embracing it, as the Stoics teach us, can help us handle the inevitable changes in our relationships with grace and resilience. And as we move on to the next Stoic insight, we'll dive into a powerful tool that can help deepen your relationships even further: empathy and active listening. You won't want to miss this one. Lesson 4. Practice empathy and listening. Imagine a moment when someone close to you was trying to explain how they felt, but instead of truly listening, you were already preparing your response in your head. We've all been there. It's easy to think we know what someone is going to say, or to assume we've heard it all before. But what if we flipped the script? What if, instead of just hearing words, we practiced real, deep listening? That's where Stoicism shines, teaching us the value of empathy and truly understanding others' perspectives. Let's take a cue from the Stoic philosopher Seneca. He once said, "Nature gave us one tongue and two ears so that we could hear twice as much as we speak." This isn't just an ancient adage, It's a principle for building stronger relationships. The next time you're in a conversation with your partner, friend, or family member, try focusing entirely on them. Not just on their words, but on the emotions behind those words. Active listening allows us to connect on a deeper level, showing the other person that their thoughts and feelings truly matter. Here's something for you to think about. How often do you listen with the intent to understand, rather than the intent to reply? It's a subtle but powerful shift that can transform the quality of your relationships. Empathy, a core component of Stoicism, means putting yourself in the other person's shoes, acknowledging their emotions without judgment. When you practice this, not only does it strengthen your bond with others, but it also fosters trust and openness in your relationships. Now, as you begin to integrate empathy and active listening into your interactions, ask yourself this: how can you create space in your conversations to truly understand the other person's perspective? It's not always easy, but it's a powerful tool that deepens relationships in ways you might not expect. Up next, we'll tackle a common challenge in relationships, seeking validation from others, and how Stoicism offers a refreshing perspective on self-worth. Stay tuned, because this next insight could change the way you view yourself and your relationships. Lesson 5. Avoid seeking validation. Let's be honest. How many times have you found yourself waiting for a text, a compliment, or some form of validation from your partner or friend? It's natural to want recognition from those we care about. But what happens when our self-worth becomes tied to their approval? This is where Stoicism offers a powerful reminder. Your value doesn't come from others. It comes from within. In fact, seeking constant validation can weaken relationships by creating a sense of dependency and insecurity. Think about the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who famously said, "If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. Be satisfied if you can live up to your own standards." Stoicism teaches us to cultivate internal validation, focusing on how we live according to our values, rather than seeking approval from others. In relationships, this can be transformative. When you stop needing constant affirmation, you free yourself and your partner from the burden of constant reassurance. You become more confident, and in turn, your relationship strengthens. Here's a question for you. Do you ever find yourself feeling anxious if you don't receive the recognition you expected from your partner? What if, instead of waiting for that external validation, you learned to give it to yourself? The moment you start valuing your own actions, words, and feelings without waiting for someone else to acknowledge them, you take back control of your happiness. And the best part? When you show up in your relationships with that kind of confidence, it's contagious. Your partner will likely respond with more respect and admiration for the self-assured version of you. As you reflect on how you've sought validation in your relationships, consider this: what small shift can you make today to validate yourself, rather than relying on someone else to do it for you? This internal shift is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it's one that will carry you far, not just in your relationships, but in every aspect of life. Next, we're going to dive into the Stoic practice of patience. In a world that often pushes us toward instant gratification, patience can be your greatest ally in building a resilient, lasting relationship. Stay tuned for how this ancient wisdom can help you cultivate calm, even in moments of frustration. Lesson 6. Cultivate patience. Have you ever been in the middle of a disagreement and all you wanted was for it to be over? You found yourself pushing for a quick solution, eager to resolve the tension as fast as possible. But instead of calming things down, rushing only made the situation worse. This is where the Stoic virtue of patience becomes invaluable. The Stoics understood that patience isn't just about waiting, it's about maintaining calm and clarity, even when things are moving slower than we'd like. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced countless political crises, yet he consistently exercised patience, knowing that rushing decisions or demanding quick fixes would often lead to poor outcomes. He famously wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." In relationships, this couldn't be more true. Patience allows us to give our partner the space they need to express themselves, work through their emotions, and, most importantly, grow. It's a form of trust, trusting that with time, things will unfold as they should. Let me ask you this. How often do you feel frustrated when things aren't resolved immediately? Whether it's a disagreement with your partner or a personal goal that's taking longer than expected, impatience can easily creep in. But what if you shifted your mindset and saw these moments of waiting as opportunities for growth? The next time you feel impatient in your relationship, pause and remind yourself that patience isn't passive. It's an active choice to stay present, to listen, and to allow the relationship to progress at its natural pace. Think of patience like a muscle. It strengthens with practice. Each time you choose to breathe through frustration instead of reacting to it, you build resilience, both in yourself and your relationship. And here's the best part. When you practice patience, your partner will likely follow suit, creating a more harmonious and understanding dynamic between you. Now, as we move forward, we'll explore one of the most powerful Stoic practices for maintaining healthy relationships: gratitude and appreciation. Stay tuned for how practicing gratitude can transform your perspective on love and connection. Lesson 7. Gratitude and appreciation. When was the last time you took a moment to truly appreciate your partner, friend, or family member? Not just for the big things, but for the small, everyday actions that often go unnoticed. Maybe it was the way they made your favorite coffee, or how they listened to you vent after a long day. In our fast-paced lives, it's easy to overlook these moments. Yet, Stoicism teaches us that gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for fostering deeper connections and strengthening relationships. The Stoics, especially Seneca, emphasized the importance of gratitude as a way to combat negativity and strengthen our bond with others. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." This isn't just about saying thank you, it's about actively seeking out the things you appreciate in those around you. In relationships, gratitude shifts our focus away from what we think is missing and redirects it toward what is already good and present. This simple practice can transform how we see our partners and loved ones. Now, here's something for you to reflect on. Do you find yourself focusing more on what your partner doesn't do rather than what they do? What if, starting today, you made it a habit to express gratitude for even the smallest things they bring to your life? Imagine how that might shift the energy in your relationship. When we actively show appreciation, it not only makes the other person feel valued, but it also deepens our own sense of connection. Gratitude is contagious. When you start recognizing and acknowledging the positive, your partner will likely start doing the same. It's a simple shift, but its impact can be profound. So, what small act can you acknowledge today? Take a moment to thank your partner, not just for the big gestures, but for the little things that often go unnoticed. Next, we'll explore how Stoicism teaches us to let go of resentment and embrace forgiveness, even in the most challenging situations. Trust me, this next lesson is one you won't want to miss. Lesson 8. Let go of resentment. Have you ever held onto a grudge so tightly that it began to affect your mood, your thoughts, and even how you interacted with others? It's a heavy burden, isn't it? Whether it's a small slight or a deep wound, resentment can take root in our relationships and slowly erode the trust and connection we've built. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that holding on to resentment only harms the person carrying it and does little to resolve the situation. Think about the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who advised that we should not waste energy on things outside our control. He famously said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, when we hold on to resentment, we allow someone else's actions to control our emotions. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in letting go of what no longer serves us, including grudges. Imagine this. You've been upset with a friend or partner for something they did weeks or even months ago. Every time you see them, that anger bubbles up again. But instead of confronting the issue or letting it go, you keep feeding the fire. It's exhausting, right? Now, what if you could choose to release that resentment, freeing yourself from the emotional weight it carries? What if you saw every hurt as an opportunity to practice forgiveness, not just for the other person's sake, but for your own peace of mind? Here's something to think about. Are there unresolved hurts in your life right now? What would happen if you decided to forgive, not because the other person necessarily deserves it, but because you deserve peace? Letting go of resentment doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or forgetting what happened. It simply means you're choosing not to let it control your emotions anymore. As we move on to the next Stoic lesson, we'll dive into how being fully present in the moment can transform not only your relationships, but your entire perspective on life. You won't want to miss how this next practice can bring more meaning and connection into your daily interactions. Lesson 9. Be present. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation with someone, but your mind was elsewhere, thinking about tomorrow's to-do list or replaying an argument from earlier in the day? We've all been there. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get distracted, but Stoicism reminds us of the profound importance of being present. Being fully engaged in the here and now doesn't just improve your relationship with yourself, it can also completely transform your relationships with others. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." His advice encourages us to let go of past regrets and future anxieties, focusing instead on what is happening right now. When it comes to relationships, this practice is powerful. Imagine sitting down with your partner and giving them your full attention, not just hearing their words, but truly listening to what they're saying. No distractions, no checking your phone, just being present. It's a small shift, but the impact on your connection can be enormous. Let me ask you this. How often are you fully present with the people you care about? Do you find yourself only half listening during conversations or thinking ahead to what you want to say next? What if, for your next interaction, you practice being entirely in the moment? By focusing on the present, you'll notice more than just words. You'll pick up on emotions, body language, and subtleties that deepen your understanding of the other person. This is where real connection happens. Here's a practical tip. The next time you're with a loved one, set aside your distractions. Put your phone down, clear your mind, and make the conscious decision to be there, fully. You'll likely notice that your conversations become richer, more meaningful, and that the other person feels truly heard and valued. As we wrap up this section, consider how presence can act as a foundation for stronger relationships. And in the final section, we'll explore the courage to communicate honestly, a key Stoic insight for deepening your relationships. Stay tuned, because this last lesson might just be the most transformative of them all. Lesson 10. Courage to communicate honestly. Think about the last time you felt something deeply in a relationship but chose not to say it. Maybe it was a fear of conflict, or maybe you didn't want to hurt the other person's feelings. We've all been there, choosing to stay silent rather than speak the truth. But Stoicism teaches us that true strength in relationships comes from the courage to communicate openly and honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. Take the example of Cato the Younger, a Stoic known for his unwavering commitment to integrity. Cato wasn't afraid to speak his mind, even when it meant standing alone in the Roman Senate. He believed that honesty wasn't just about speaking the truth, but about living it every day. In relationships, this means having the bravery to express your thoughts and feelings clearly, while also being receptive to the other person's truth. Here's a question for you. How often do you avoid difficult conversations in your relationships? We all know those moments when you hold back from saying what's really on your mind because you're afraid of how the other person will react. But what if, instead, you embraced honesty as a path to deeper connection? The Stoics believed that true strength lies in facing challenges head-on, including the challenges that come with being vulnerable in our communication. When you have the courage to communicate honestly, you foster an atmosphere of trust and respect. Yes, it might be uncomfortable at first, but it opens the door to real growth and understanding. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel like avoiding a tough conversation, take a deep breath and ask yourself what the Stoics would do. Approach the situation with calm, clarity, and respect. Be honest, but also be compassionate. You might be surprised at how much closer you feel afterward. As we bring this journey through Stoic insights to a close, remember that courage, honesty, and vulnerability are at the heart of meaningful relationships. When we communicate openly, we not only strengthen our bonds, but also grow as individuals. Now that we've explored these Stoic lessons, the question is, which of these will you bring into your relationships today? As we wrap up our journey through these Stoic insights, I want you to take a moment to reflect. What would your relationships look like if you applied even just one of these lessons today? Whether it's controlling your reactions during a heated moment, letting go of resentment that's been weighing you down, or having the courage to communicate honestly, each of these practices holds the potential to deepen your connections and strengthen your bonds. Stoicism isn't just an ancient philosophy, it's a timeless guide for navigating the complexities of human relationships with wisdom, grace, and resilience. Think about it. The Stoics lived through some of the most challenging times in history, yet their teachings on emotional control, patience, and presence continue to resonate today. Imagine if you could bring that same calm and strength into your daily interactions with the people you care about most. By focusing on what you can control and letting go of the rest, you free yourself from unnecessary conflict and create space for more meaningful, fulfilling relationships. So now, it's your turn. Which of these Stoic insights will you practice first? Let me know in the comments below, whether it's being more present, embracing change, or practicing gratitude. And if you found value in these lessons, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. By subscribing, you'll stay connected with more insights on how Stoic wisdom can continue to shape your relationships and life. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Stoicism. Until next time, stay strong, stay thoughtful, and stay stoic.